It is time for my 2023 NBA playoff predictions, and starting out in the Eastern Conference, we got the 1-seeded Bucks versus the 8-seeded Heat. I'm going to be taking the Bucks in 5 for this series. I think Jimmy Butler is going to have one of his playoff performances, but other than that, the Bucks are going to be way too much for the Heat to stop. Next up, we got the 2-seeded Celtics versus the 7-seeded Hawks. Just like in the last series, I think that Trae Young is going to take one of the games, but other than that, Celtics are going to be way too much, and I'm taking them in 5. Moving on, we have the 3-seeded 76ers versus the 6-seeded Nets. I'm going to take the 76ers in 5 because I think that James Harden is going to have a huge series, but I wouldn't be very surprised if the Nets were able to snag 1 or 2 games. And last but not least, we have the 4-seeded Cavs versus the 5-seeded Knicks. This is a series that could really go either way. The Knicks have a very solid team, but the Cavs, I think, have been doing great all season, and I don't think it's going to stop here in the first round. I'm taking Cleveland in 7 in a thriller series. Moving on to the Western Conference, we got the 1-seeded Nuggets versus the 8-seeded Timberwolves. Between Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, I don't know who's going to be guarding Nikola Jokic, but whoever is will not be able to, and I'm going to be taking the Nuggets in 5. And next up, one of, if not the most exciting first round series, the Grizzlies versus the Lakers. I'm going to be taking the Grizzlies in 7. I think that this series could really go either way. The Lakers can show up as 2 different teams, but I think it's really going to depend on AD. We know the Grizzlies have a lot of front court issues with Brandon Clark, Steven Adams both being out for the season due to injuries. If AD can really show up and be that guy that he's been the past couple weeks, the Lakers definitely have a chance, but if not, I think the Grizzlies are going to be able to move on. After that, we got the 3-seeded Kings versus the 6-seeded Warriors. Another great matchup in the Western Conference. I'm going to be taking Warriors in 6. A lot of people are going to be evenly split, which is understandable. The Kings have had a great season, but I think the Warriors' experience is really going to get the upper edge in this series. And every time the Warriors have been in the playoffs, they've made the finals. So I'm not gonna spoil anything right now, but I at least have them getting out of the first round here. Last but not least, to me the most exciting first round matchup, the 4-seeded Suns versus the 5-seeded Clippers. KD and Devin Booker versus Kawhi and maybe Paul George. We'll see if he can return at some point in the series. But speaking of Paul George, without him, the Clippers are going to be a big questionable. If Kawhi can really carry this team this far over the Suns, it'd be pretty crazy. But I think without Paul George, if he doesn't come back by game 3 or 4, I think the Suns are going to take it. That's why I have them winning in 6 games. Moving on to the next round, back over in the Eastern Conference, we've got the Bucks and the Cavs. Like I said before, the Cavs have had a great season, but I think it's going to end here. Way too much star power with the Bucks. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I think it's going to be way too much for the Cavs to handle. I'm taking the Bucks in 6 in that series. And the second matchup in the East, Celtics versus 76ers. We always see these two teams battle it out in the regular season. The Celtics are 2-1 versus them this season, though. And I think that Jason Tatum is going to handle business when it comes to playoff time. I'm taking Boston in 6. And on to the West, the first matchup is Nuggets versus Suns. This is going to be an absolute thriller if this series actually pans out to happen. I'm taking the Suns in 7. The Suns are undefeated with Kevin Durant. I think is 7 or 8-0 right now. And I don't think that that's going to slow down when it comes to the playoffs. I know that the Nuggets are a very talented team. I called it before the season they were going to be very dangerous, but nobody really saw the Suns trading for KD mid-season, and with that happening, I don't think the Nuggets are going to have any way to slow them down. And the second matchup in the West would be the 2-seeded Grizzlies versus the 6-seeded Warriors. We know all the beef between those two teams with Dillon Brooks and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But with Andrew Wiggins, as we know, is going to be back for the playoffs, and I think that Klay Thompson is going to get the last laugh in that beef. We know that all the off-the-court issues with the Grizzlies, like I said before, that with those front-court issues with Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, I think that the Warriors are going to be able to take care of the Grizzlies. I have them winning in 6 games. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, I've got the Bucks versus the Celtics. It's where we were last year in the semifinals, and the Celtics were able to win in 7 games. And that's exactly what I have happening again this year. We know Grant Williams was the one to come up big in Game 7. I don't know who it's going to be in this year's Game 7, but I still have Boston winning it regardless. And over in the West, I've got the 4-seeded Suns versus the 6-seeded Warriors. Like I said before, in the past 15 years, the Warriors haven't lost to a Western Conference team in the playoffs. They've always made the finals or won it. Up until now, I have the Suns beating the Warriors in 6 games. Like I said before, with KD, they're undefeated. I don't think that that's going to stop here, and I don't know who's going to be slowing down the Suns in the playoffs. The Warriors are a team to do it. If there's any team in the West, it's probably going to be Golden State. But at least in this series, in my predictions, I have the Suns going back to the finals. And in the NBA Finals, I have the Boston Celtics versus the Phoenix Suns, the teams that have lost the finals the 2 previous years. And the 2023 NBA champion will be the Boston Celtics. I think they bring home championship number 18 in 7 games, a thriller series. NBA Finals MVP is going to be Jason Tatum. We know all the drama that they've had this past offseason with the Ime Udoka situation. They have to promote assistant head coach Joe Mazzulla to the job, and he's going to end up bringing home a championship. I think the Celtics are on a mission this season. I think that they're going to be able to get it done. Even if they don't win the championship, I think that they should be able to get back to the finals without even having much trouble. We'll see what happens, though. I think it's going to end up being Milwaukee or Boston to get the Eastern Conference title. And in the West, I think it's going to come down to either the Suns or the Warriors. I really don't see any other team doing it. I think that the Kings are too inexperienced. Same with the Grizzlies. The Nuggets definitely have potential. Maybe the Clippers if Paul George can get back. Probably not the Lakers this year. But the West is pretty much wide open. I think the East is down to those 2 teams. This is my whole bracket for the NBA playoffs. I'm really excited. Playoffs start in just a couple hours, well, in like 12 hours or so. But either way, that'll wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Peace.